Good morning. I'm Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com.
And I'm Alex Day with The Street, and together we bring you Morning Call Express. Scott, stocks are not looking good headed into the Thanksgiving holiday here. Are we oversold yet at these levels?
I think the oscillator was minus 70 yesterday, so today we're probably at minus 80. We're down like this could be the 6th day in a row, and typically on Thanksgiving or the day or two before, they like to have a little bit of a positive spin on the market, so this way everyone goes out and they start shopping, they're with their family, they're a little bit positive. So the fact that we can't bounce at all and the fact that yesterday they had the market positive and they couldn't keep it, it's making market participants really lose interest and really get a bit more worried than we've been overall.
And not to mention the fact that I think the day after Thanksgiving is typically the best day for the markets of the year.
So hopefully we get to an area that market participants feel comfortable enough that they could actually buy, because right now technically the market's broken. So at this point all you want to do is pick spots because momentum has left. So if they could bring us down low enough, maybe some traders will have some interest, like myself, to buy for an oversold bounce. But if you start too quick, you know, markets can always get more oversold.
All right, so let's go to the charts and see what level you'd have to see for you to get interested to play long for an oversold bounce.
Okay, so let's put up the spiders, because again, people are trading the spiders, and I'll coordinate it to the SPX. So take a look at the chart here. You know, this is an overall chart of the spiders. This was that October 4th reversal. Awesome move, pent up energy the whole entire way. And then recently, this was that wedge type pattern that resolved to the downside. This is when most of us got to cash, when if you were in tier 1 on your macro positions, you had to get down to, or I mean tier 2 to tier 1. So we have a 2-day pivot here. This is about 118.50 that we're opening below. So I'm going to look at this level, which comes at around 117.50, to see if I could buy here, because this also coordinates somewhat to this downtrend that was broken here to the upside. So a retest here and a hold would be a bit constructive, nothing to write home about, but at least something to work with.
So then how are you going home today headed into the, I don't want to say 2-day holiday, markets open for a half day, of course, on Friday, but we know volume's going to be really light.
I'm going to be very light.
Okay.
But I would like to own something at these levels, considering, you know, if you sold at 1245 in the S&P, you might want to try and buy it around 1170 into support, because that's a big move lower. But you have to be careful, because the market is in correction. When you're in correction, you just have to be, you know, risk off. And depending on the action today, I'll have more clarity towards the end of the day to see how I want to be positioned into Friday.
Is gold something that you actually might be interested in, maybe headed into the 2-day holiday-ish we're looking here? I mean, gold's still up 20%, almost 20% for the year. What we saw yesterday was really interesting. The GLD added 6 tons of gold, which meant that on that big dip, that 2.5% dip we saw Monday, there were significant buyers in the market. Is this a place you want to stash a little bit of cash?
I still think the forces of will need to protect gold. Like you said, it's up over 20% for the year, so people's performance and their bonuses are still based on how we close. So on big dips like you saw, like you just said, you know, there are going to be some people to come in to support it. Yesterday, gold was up like, what, $30 or so?
Yeah, it was up about 1.5%.
So now it's down like 10. So for that, I'll look to see if I could buy some GLD on the dip here to go negative to positive, and look to that, because that's the type of trade I'm going to look for. Things that were strong yesterday that are down that could provide some cash flow.
And then speaking of, I mean, a lot of the miners were very strong too. I just want to highlight one in particular, Newmont. We heard today that the Australian mining tax was just passed in the lower house, going to be passed in the Senate most likely in early 2012. That tax is about 30% better than the 40 that was expected, so I wonder if there's going to be some trading cash flow opportunities for Newmont.
Well, if it's opening lower, you take a quick look at 2 spots right here. You have 64 and then you have 61. Those are 2 big spots to see where it could find some support if it's not already priced in.
All right, fair enough. Let's go to retail then. Another sector I want to take a look at headed into Black Friday. It's kind of a retail roundup. The 2 retail stocks that went positive yesterday were really Amazon and Apple, compared to, say, like a Macy's or Lululemon or Tiffany's. What does that say?
It says that Apple held above the 200-day. We were targeting 363. It bounced off yesterday. It closed strong. That's something I will look at today for cash flow to see if it can go from negative to positive. It has a bit more room. And Amazon, which typically does really well, it's been so battered and so bruised. It closed strong. That's another thing with the futures down. I'm going to focus on both to see if I see some relative strength to make them go positive. But overall, those stocks have a lot to prove for the longer-term investor.
Would you be taking any other retail names like a Macy's or Tiffany's or Lululemon into Black Friday at all, or do you need to wait and see how it shakes out?
I'm going to wait to see how it shakes out.
Okay.
They've been strong. If you're an investor there, it's a different story. For me, I'm not just going to put on positions in anticipation of what could happen on Friday. I'll stick more with the names that I'm familiar with.
All right, rounding out another stock that's going to be making headlines today is going to be Deere. Just reported a killer quarter, beat on earnings, beat on revenue. We have sales up for the whole year next year about 15%. For the first quarter, 16 to 18%. Are you trading this stock today?
I'll look at it, and hopefully it'll provide some support to the market for that sector, because I would love to see this market go from negative to positive, because if we open lower and drift lower all day, it won't be a day for anyone. So
Right.
hopefully, at least if we're here at work, we can get some type of constructive action.
All right, it's already at 4% in pre-market. Okay,
Good.
so those are the stocks we're looking at for today. If you want to see the entirety of what Scott will be looking at and how he's trading ahead of Thanksgiving, you can follow the entire morning call on the street.
Happy Thanksgiving.